Hi there, and welcome to our series on excellence in collection in conjunction with the Irish Credit Team Awards. And it's my great pleasure today to introduce you to Dara Kiernan from KPI Consultants. Dara is a international best-selling author and leadership guru. Would that be fair to say, Dara?
Yes, I think that'd be fair to say. I'm a bit humbled by that introduction. Thank you very much. Yeah, delighted that my recent book, Free Fall, which is a leadership development book, based on my experiences learning how to skydive in Ireland many years ago, hit the number one spot in the US market and Amazon in US there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So somebody's reading it anyway, so that's good.
Yeah, well, buying it, that's probably the main thing. So so we're here to talk about excellence in credit management, and I think excellence in credit management is down to excellence in leadership. And I'm delighted and thank you for your sponsorship of the Credit Leadership Award this year. So just talk to us a bit about leadership and why it's important in the credit management industry.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, Declan, for me, it's always a pleasure to sponsor your awards and sponsor an award in the Credit Team Awards. I think it's so important that people are recognized in such a tough area of business, and certainly I deal a lot with customer service teams, and that could be from various different sectors. But when it comes to credit management is a difficult and delicate type of industry to be in, and it reminds me years ago. I ran a credit management team, and we dealt with the likes of distressed debts and mortgage debt back in the crisis days, and for the people in those departments, the leadership is so important to encourage people to join these departments. The conversations that need to be had and the relationships that need to be built with customers and clients as such is so crucial. And I suppose the expectations that need to be set from the very beginning is so important. So having a leader there to encourage people to join those teams and to most importantly stay in those teams
Mm.
is crucial, absolutely crucial. I was at an event on Tuesday, and one of our pillar banks told me a story about their customer complaints team, and they've recently centralized the complaints. And now you can imagine the complaints that come into banks, and and not only do they see quite a lot of complaints now, and they see a change in behavior of people now. These days people want answers right now. They want instant gratification.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they've managed to create a centralized team specifically for complaints. And that's all these guys deal with every day. But how they attract them is the leadership. And they promote the support they get received from their leaders. They promote the flexibility, they promote personal development. And the main thing that they do is the biggest thing they say is, with all of the technology we have there, we pick up the telephone. We speak to people.
Mm.
In credit management, we in complaint handling, and in so many of these really delicate and difficult areas, you can't beat the telephone conversation. It's a person on person.
Yeah.
And I think for me, if I was, in the past, I've received emails from, maybe credit management teams from different maybe utility companies or from different providers and so on and so forth, and it just falls into an inbox, you know.
Mm.
And I mean, I always laugh. The only email that is urgent is the one that upsets us. And that's when we shouldn't reply to it urgently. That's the time we need to calm down and relax. When
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
new offends us, we go, I got to reply back to that really quickly now.
Yeah.
And give them my tuppence worth. But that's the wrong time to do it. So
True.
yeah, it is, leaders in every industry, their job is to support the people around them, to empower them. And especially in credit management, because if you don't feel empowered and you don't feel that you have the support of the leaders around you and of the company around you, this will translate directly to the customer. the customer will feel it on the
Of
telephone.
course. Yeah.
And in telephone, certainly in collections, years ago, I used to say, the tone of voice on the telephone call is the shirt and tie on the doorstep, you know, and that's what represents the company. So if your leader's not encouraging and not allowing you to enjoy yourself and work, not allowing you to express yourself the
Mm.
way you wish to and be comfortable, it's gonna translate directly to the customer, and the customer's gonna think, who on earth is this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do they somebody asked me, yeah, I part of my part-time experience as well through my 25 years of leadership. I was heavily involved in the stand-up comedy world, and both on stage and behind the scenes, running comedy clubs and managing comedians and doing this. And somebody once asked me, how do you link between stand-up comedy and leadership? And it's quite simple. When people come to a comedy show, they come to laugh. That's it. That's the core reason for
Yeah.
them going. And when people go to work in the morning, they go to do a good job. They go to take pride in their work, and they try and do as best that they can. The leader and the comedian, all they have to do is facilitate that, and sometimes doing less is more. Sometimes stepping back and allowing, you know, in the stand-up comedy world, they're just primed and ready to laugh. You just gotta let them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a good leader, the staff are primed and ready to do a good job. You just gotta let them. Now, there are occasionally exceptions to that rule, and you'll get a heckler, or you'll get somebody who just doesn't want to work. And
Yeah.
that's just the way they are. But what you have to do in those situations is you got to recognize them, you got to respect them, and you've got to manage them. And leadership is a whole big toolkit. The management is just a part of that toolkit. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
but they can't be allowed to take over the show. So you've got to manage it. But
Absolutely.
and the rest of the team want you to do that, and that's so important. So you need to have strength, and you need to have, you know, you need to have the thoughts of the best for everybody in the business. You need to think of not just the staff, but you need to think of the customer. So to be you need to be able to adapt.
Yeah, and then split between, caring for the people, caring for the company you work for, caring for the customers, and then the results that are required as well, because that's the real world that we live in now. It's results driven.
Oh, it is, and that's what can sometimes as well, and certainly in financial services, we deal with numbers, and we deal with, the financial results, and sometimes what we forget is, we build in very structured policies and very structured procedures and processes. But the one thing we forget about there is they're all very structured and fixed, but there's always a variable in there, and the variable is the people. And
Yeah.
we have to make sure that all of these structures that we put in place account for the variable nature of human beings,
Yeah.
you know.
So what are the qualities that make a successful leader? You've probably given a few already, but
Well, probably given a few. I mean, the big thing is empathy, and a big thing is you just have to have a caring nature. My book I wrote is not an academic book. It's more based on personal experiences, and my belief is that the true core skills of a leader mainly come from your personal experiences, how you were brought up, your interaction with people, your experiences outside the corporate boardroom as such. I find when you go into a business, sometimes that's where your core skills can be challenged
mhm.
at most of the time. Um, you're influenced by the various different targets and metrics and ways in which that business works, but you've got to return back to where you are. And if you truly care about people and care about their development and care about them succeeding, you too will succeed.
Yeah.
And it may sound selfish, and it is a little bit, but that's a core part of it. You don't, they often say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And it's very true. But you as a leader is there not to do the work. You're there to empower others to do the work. And
Yeah.
so
To get it done. That's the
to
difference.
get it
Yeah.
done, I think Bill
Yeah.
Gates said, Bill Gates once said that If he wanted a project done really fast and really quickly, he would find the laziest project manager that he could find because he knew that that person would delegate the life out of that task, but he delivered on it,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and sometimes it's hard for leaders to move away from the actual doing and get into to the oversight
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and I must say, in the transition from being a credit controller myself to becoming a credit manager, that was the big challenge that I had. So, Dara, just maybe can you give us some common pitfalls for the benefit of those who are watching, just to point them in the right direction, so this will be a worthwhile experience for them.
yeah, and look, I think a lot of these pitfalls myself, I've fallen into I've fallen into these holes as well myself. I think a big one really is over reliance on kind of traditional processes and on this is the way we always do it. This
Oh
is
yeah.
how it's done. You know, the Dunning letter. My word,
Oh, it
that
sends
just that
shivers up my spine.
that's exactly what it does to me. You know, but just rely, not thinking out of, not looking at your business in the way your customers look at your business. That's
Mm,
you have to step outside of your own environment and say, well, what experience am I providing my customer? It's not, it's not getting into your customer's shoes. It's walking a mile in those shoes, experiencing, going through the entire experience. If you bring on a new client and you don't tell them about the collections procedure and you oversell their expectations, sometimes coming towards the end of the credit cycle where it comes to paying your bill can leave a bit of taste in the mouth, and that
mm,
affects relationships. The communication that brings you into poor communication by not communicating those policies and expectations. The client may say, well, hey, look, we got the great product from these guys, but they didn't deliver what we thought that they would deliver. And going back to the comedian, if you're thinking of going in for a laugh and this guy's not funny, well, that's a poor delivery of a service. The short-term focus I find can be a bit of a trap. And when you prioritize immediate cash flow into the business rather than looking further down the line at long-term relationships with your clients, and the supermarkets years ago used to do these loss leaders just to bring you in the door. And then, they would hope that the experience would keep you coming back in the door.
yeah, yeah.
So, you got to balance those short-term and long-term business relationships. I know sometimes financial guys will be on your back about getting the money in, and there has to be a little bit of flexibility. It's crucial you do it, but it's a delicate balance.
Mm.
Team development and the lack thereof. It is the one thing LinkedIn did a survey years ago, and one of the key reasons why people left jobs is there are no personal development for them. And that's a big, big thing for people. It's not maybe salaries is maybe third or fourth on the list why people leave businesses, but if there's no development or career progression for them, that's a big, big thing. And people feel just very demotivated. And crucially, when we talk about team development, the leader themselves needs personal development and growth as well. They need to constantly look at how they can improve themselves and how they can train themselves. And I suppose in credit management, regulatory changes, that's something if you don't stay on top of those,
Oh yeah.
that's dangerous. So taking that time away from doing the work to familiarize yourself with all of these new changes in the laws and the compliance and any of the and aware, making yourself aware of the industry standards and industry practices, and certainly by networking at your awards and finding out what other people do allows you to be able to go back into your organization and train your people and
Yeah.
tell them,
Yeah, and the other thing we haven't mentioned is the absolute explosion around technology, AI, the whole online thing. It's just moving at such a pace now. It just takes everything you have to keep up with it.
It does, but
Yeah.
there's the thing about AI, and I know we're conscious of the time. This thing about AI, everybody's talking about AI, but not everybody's using it. And I work in the contact center world, and we hear about all of these companies using AI. They're not using it as much as you would think that they are.
Oh, yeah.
Um, we've talked about solutions for telephony and all of this and omni-channel solutions, and you look across the UK and Ireland, There's very few real omni-channel call centers out there. There's multi-channel, but not.
Yeah.
So AI is falling into the same bucket. But as we said at the very beginning, when it comes to credit management, telephone call is crucial. Now you can use AI to remind you when to do it. You can have systems in place to ensure that if a broken arrangement is there, you get an immediate notification, and maybe your system sends out a text or an email or something, but you've got to follow up with the phone
Yeah.
call.
Yeah,
Just
I totally agree with that. Dara, it's been a pleasure.
yeah,
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your insights. I hope everybody has found it interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person at the Credit Team Awards, where we will honor one of our great credit leaders in this country, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, look, and thank you very much for your time. And I'd be absolutely remiss of me not to say, if you're interested about my book, you can see more about it on freefallleadership.com.
That's great. Well, I'll be posting this on LinkedIn, so I'm sure I might put a link underneath as well,
Brilliant.
just to do my bit.
I
Listen,
gotta
thank
do
you
gotta
very
do the
much
hard
indeed, and
sell.
we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks so
Bye.
much, Declan.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.